So it's an episode entirely dedicated to my husbando. I'm pretty happy with that. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly ReZero Season 2 discussion videos. Today we're here to talk all about episode 20, the beginning of Sanctuary and the beginning of the end. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AnyTube know that you're here. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Oh yes, it is indeed time to talk about the king himself. It is time to talk about the beginning of Roswaal. It's pretty marvelous, I'm not gonna lie. I would say the very first scene's a little weird. I'm not even gonna show a clip from it, because like, ew. I might show just like the screenshot of him blushing, because I thought the effect was cool, but like, him like throwing up, and then Echidna kissing him, and then like a string of just drool between them, I wanted to vomit. I don't know if maybe that's just the ace in me, or I feel like everybody would find that shit gross, but like, because it wasn't just the kiss, it was the fact that he threw up. You know what I mean? If they kissed and there was like drool between them, I'd still be grossed out, but it'd be a little bit easier to take than him throwing up like right before that. Like, ew, dude. That was super gross. But yeah, Roswaal basically like has his whole background sort of explained. Like, we don't get to see every little detail. Like, we find out through a line of dialogue that thanks to Echidna, Roswaal was able to gain control over the Mathers family, right? So we know that there was some sort of like contest for the family name, and that Roswaal ended up coming out on top with the help of Echidna. And maybe that's a story for another time. But for now, we basically get to see how Sanctuary began. Not so much like how Roswaal's interactions with Echidna shaped who we later see him become in the current timeline, in the present, but we do get an idea of how Sanctuary came to be, and by connection, a little bit of what Roswaal's interactions with Echidna were like. And I will say the juxtaposition of the modern day Roswaal versus the younger, more optimistic self is kind of sad to watch, right? You could still tell it's Roswaal, the way he sort of teases Beatrice and Ryuzu, and this, like, more so that he's protective of Ryuzu and sort of like teases Beatrice, but still cares about her and is so infatuated with Echidna. Again, a lot of these characters are paralleling, right? Like, we have Roswaal sort of paralleling Subaru in the same way that Betelgeuse Romani Conti Des was paralleling Subaru just last week, right? Like, we still see these sort of parallels, right? And Echidna Amelia is sort of paralleling Echidna in her dynamic with Roswaal, sort of. And also, you know, her own mother, right? Like, we sort of see this parallel in the characters, and it's making everything feel sort of like cyclical. Like, maybe Subaru and Amelia are going to be the ones who get it right. Like, maybe this is the couple that's going to get it right this time. And I'm always the optimist in situations like this. Like, when people see this sort of like two people who are gonna try it again, right? Like, two people who are really gonna do their best. Like, I always try to see that as a positive instead of a negative. Whereas Roswaal might see that sort of like recurring dynamic and see negativity, right? Roswaal, in this big argument he has with Subaru towards the end of the episode, you see the two of them sort of come to blows over this, and Roswaal says, like, it's literally the reason why, like, you and I are the same, and you don't even realize that what you think is a strength I find to be a weakness, right? Your emotions are a weakness, they're a shackle holding you back. Whereas Subaru's like, this is what makes me strong, right? Like, and I'm going to side with Subaru on this. I was so proud of my boy. This week, to see him sort of stand up to Roswaal and tell him, like, no, like, this is the way it is, and it's not my weakness, it's my strength. My friends are my power, and I'm theirs, if I might quote Sora from Kingdom Hearts. It's definitely the vibe he gave me, and when he did the Subaru pose, I lost my shit. Like, I think just the juxtaposition of past Roswaal versus what he would eventually become, it was really heartbreaking to see, because we know that he was so infatuated with Echidna. Like, he called her teacher, he was talking to Beatrice about the odds of him maybe getting married to Echidna. Like, he really was head over heels for her in the same way that Subaru is head over heels for Amelia. And we know where that leads. Like, by the time we see him now, he's still my husbando. Don't get me wrong. That man is like a 10 out of 10. But, you know, it's sad to see him sort of like in this twisted, macabre version of his past self. Like, there's almost nothing left of that youthful boy who was literally pounded into paste by that other dude who we'll get into in a minute. Very little of that kid is left, right? Now we just have Roswaal, the man who obsessed over Echidna for 400 years, loved one woman, you know, like one woman and one woman only, and it never left, right? Like, he says it's like her image is seared into his heart and it won't leave, and he doesn't see that as a strength. That's his weakness to him, when really Subaru's like, no, my emotions are my strength. Right? And I was like, as much as I love Roswaal, he is my evil husbando for a reason, you know what I mean? Like, I don't agree with everything the character does, and I do think that Subaru standing up and like really letting him have it was super justified, and I appreciated that even Garf was just like, nah, dude, like, you think that me switching sides is weak when I see it as a strength. Garf tells him, why would I side with the dude who says that I'm always gonna be weak, as opposed to the dude who says I need you because you're strong, right? Like, Garf says, like, I'm going to stick with Subaru because he wants me to better myself. He actually is trying to help me. You're just trying to hold me in the past, right? I confronted my fears. It's not that I ever stopped caring about my family. It's because I care about my family that I'm doing the right thing now. And I was like, hell yeah, Garf. Garf's that boy. Like, Garf is our best boy. Garf's our good boy. And Otto does a fat load of nothing. Otto just kind of stands there, but that's fine. I don't really expect Otto to say anything. It's not really his place. He doesn't really have anything to say here. And we got the Otto shine the last few weeks, so I'm fine with him not really getting much to do this week. Because it was really, to me, about Roswaal for the most part. This episode is the Roswaal episode. You know, like, this is the one that digs into his past. It's also a Ryuzu episode as well, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But for the most part, yeah, this very much felt like the Roswaal episode, and I'm glad that we got the characters sort of like mouthing off to Roswaal, like, because Roswaal basically says, like, I'm not calling shit off. Like, you haven't proved anything to me. Just because you know my past, you think that means something? Like, no, you and I, we're gonna keep dancing this dance until somebody's out of the picture. Like, this is gonna keep happening. And Subaru just basically tells him, like, I'm not giving up on you. Which, it's like, I really respect that Subaru's like, no, I'm gonna make you see the light. Like, you're gonna help. You're gonna actually help her. You're gonna help Amelia before this is over. You know what I mean? And I like that, because I'm like, I want Roswaal to turn good. Like, I'm still holding out. I'm with Subaru on this, but even more, right? I'm like, I'm still holding out hope for you, dude. You're my husbando for a reason, right? I don't husbando people up just, well, I was gonna say, I don't husbando people up unless I think they're good. And then I remembered that, one of my husbandos is Cell from Dragon Ball. And he's kind of, you know, textbook evil. So, okay, maybe not. But I'm still holding out hope. I still think Roswaal's a good dude. I'm still holding out hope for that. But there is one other thing I want to talk about this week, too. I want to talk about Hector. But first, you guys do remember I'm a zombie, right? I could literally eat your brain, like right now. Except I won't, because you've definitely already hit subscribe, which means I'll leave you alone. Unless you haven't, in which case, guess who's having a brain Sunday today? Alright, sub-joke out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Hector. Hector, the devil of melancholy, as they call him. Hector makes a pretty impressive introduction. I don't think this dude's dead. Like, just because the way that they introduced him, the fact that it's Junichi Suwabe, who you might know for voicing stuff like Sukuna, Berkuli, Aizawa, Abakio, Archer, he's huge, right? Suwabe's great. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna put Suwabe on this, in this role, as this character. He ain't gonna just show up for like 5 minutes of an episode and disappear. And I think the character's way too interesting to just disappear, right? The fact that when this man appears, I'm like, okay, so he's got dark hair, and his eyes are like light brown, but they almost go red in some lights. So like in some positions, his eyes almost look like they're red, but it's just very, very like brown. Like they're very brown to the point where like they're almost like amber, right? Like they kind of go red to an extent. It's cool looking. Like the eyes are very burgundy kind of, but they're brown, but like in some lights they look burgundy. Like they go almost sort of reddish, and it's really cool. Which I love, obviously. Like again, I'm a big character design kind of guy. If you have a cool character design, I'm a fighting game fan, right? So all I really need is a cool character design, a fun voice actor, and some cool moves, and I'll like a character. And immediately Hector stood out to me as like, this dude's cool. Reason for that. His outfit looks familiar, doesn't it? His outfit, I was just like, this man looks like Roswaal. Like, this man's outfit looks like something... This man looks like he went to the future, grabbed something out of Roswaal's wardrobe, and just put it on, right? But the color choices are interesting, because his outfit is white and purple. Now, normally, when I see purple, if you guys know... And yes, that's right, it's design time, everybody. It's everybody's favorite time, design time. I don't get to do these often, especially for sequels, because it's so rare we get new characters, especially this late into the season. But it's design time. I love this. So, color psychology time. When it comes to purple, if you've been with the channel for a while, especially if you watched our Demon King Academy videos, you'll know that purple typically represents royalty. However, I don't think that's the case here. And white is usually innocence and purity. Again, don't think that's the case here. So, what does white and purple represent? Well, I'm going to look at these colors as negatives. So what does the inverse? What's the negative side of purple and white? Well, purple can be a sensitive color, which is technically a positive, right? There's nothing wrong with being sensitive, showing the emotions, right? But when your name is the devil of melancholy, the purple can be a sign that you're a little sensitive to your emotions. You're willing to sort of give in to some of the more darker emotions that the soul might bring out. And then white, in this case, I think is meant to represent an emptiness. I get melancholic sometimes. Like, I'm the first to admit that. I especially during the winter, I have seasonal depression like you wouldn't believe. So I definitely know what that's like. Being depressed isn't like, I'm sad. It's more like the absence of feeling. And it's weird. So I definitely get what they're going for with Hector, especially in the design. The white and purple, at first I was like, royalty and innocence? Like, that's weird. But then when I really looked at it, I'm like, no, it's emptiness, right? Like, the white is meant to represent a lack of emotion, and the purple is just sinking into that lack of emotion, like allowing the sort of negative vibes to sort of take over, right? So the purple intertwined with the white, just this hollowness. And, like, you know that hollowness makes you sad, but you can't really bring yourself to cry. You know what I mean? Like, that's the vibe that the outfit is giving me. And Hector as a character is, again, like I said, suave, the design, the presence, like, the badassery. Like, he's too cool to just disappear. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing him again, whether it's, like, in the present or just for more flashbacks. I don't know, but I'm excited. I like that they sort of explain that he might be what, like that he is sort of like in some way connected to Echidna, like that he might have been her first attempt at a Roswaal type of character. It's kind of crazy, it's super cool, and I'm just excited to see what they do with Hector as a character if he does come back, because I feel like, again, it's too easy to ditch, or it'd be too much of a bummer, rather, to ditch this character. I think he's way too cool to just leave him in the dust, so I hope that we get to see him again. There's obviously other things that happen this week. We get, like, the ending with Amelia. We get a brand new ED, which is great. And, of course, we get the big goodbye with Beatrice and Ryuzu, which was stunningly beautiful. I legitimately got really misty-eyed. But I don't have anything to say outside of, like, that was really sad for Beatrice, because we don't really get to know Ryuzu that well. You know, like, we know her, but we more so know, like, these, like, spin-offs of her. So it's kind of sad to see what eventually became of the original Ryuzu. For me, it was more just sad to see Beatrice be sad. You know, like, it was sad for Beatrice for me. And I don't have much to say beyond that. It was just beautiful, just a beautiful scene. But I wanted to spend this video talking about Roswaal, like, everything about him, and a bit about Hector, since, again, I feel like Hector is just, like, it should have shown Roswaal what he was gonna become. You know what I mean? Like, I think Hector is just a more destroyed Roswaal, like, a sign that, like, Roswaal was never special, that there were others like him, maybe. Or, like, maybe there was others, and Hector's just the one that's still standing. I don't know. but I wanted to spend this video talking about Hector and specifically Roswaal. That said, again, the whole episode's great. These aren't really supposed to be episode recaps, you know, they're just a discussion of the points that I want to talk about week to week. Sometimes we don't even talk about the friggin' episode. Sometimes we talk about other stuff surrounding the episode or surrounding the show. This week, I just kind of wanted to talk about Roswaal, so there you have it. Also, the song, when Beatrice and Ryuzo are saying goodbye, the piano track, oh my god, beautiful. But yeah, okay, on that note, now the video's over. So with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AnyTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button. That gets you a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you could check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron, and I want to quickly say that yes, I was going to react to this, but the same day that this is coming out is the Nintendo Direct, so I wanted to save my voice for that. Haven't seen it yet. It hasn't gone live yet. It's before 5 p.m. at the time of recording this. So yeah, I haven't seen the Direct yet, so I wanted to save my voice for that. Hopefully it's good. You will have seen it by the time this video comes out, but yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, yeah, go check out the second channel, by the way. I put reviews or reactions out on the second channel if you want to see that. I'm trying to get that thing to 1,000 so we can start monetizing the second channel because, you know, your boy needs to eat. But anyway, bye!